I'm Catherine. I'm head of legal and audit at the Fosse Associates. I've been with the business coming up 10 years and kind of had numerous different roles within the business, one of which was before the one I'm in now in what's called our candidate care team. So they deal with all the onboarding of all our new contractors coming through. And it was in that position that I came across Access. So I think that was probably about maybe 7 years ago, something like that. So quite a long time. Yeah, so I was introduced to Nicholas by a colleague of ours who I think worked with him at his previous company. And part of his role when he joined us was to look at our European market. And it was an area that we'd never really done before, kind of ones and twos here and there, but it wasn't that big for us. We were predominantly UK. And because of that, there was obviously no one internally who really had much experience with kind of the compliance requirements that we need to have in certain countries. So since day one, really, Nicholas especially has been great. He's had numerous phone calls from me about random countries all over the place, and offered a ton of advice in an area that was really new to us. Kind of fast forward until now, we've got a really big EU team who are growing as we speak. We've just brought in a new associate director to kind of really elevate that. And we have an office out in Amsterdam now. So they only do perm at the moment, but at some point in the future, we're going to expand that to contract work as well. And kind of throughout that whole time, Access have always been there, always been kind of our, I guess, main provider that we've used for our non-UK placements. We do have a couple more, but they've always kind of seemed to come out top and just have the fastest response time ever, which is great when we're getting questions from clients and candidates about, you know, what they need to do to remain compliant to start their assignment. They've always been on hand and come back in record time, which is always nice. We did. I think we maybe had 4 or 5, so not many at all. And it was, I think, managed is probably a very loose term. There was a lot of Googling going on from my side. And a lot of money probably wasted on legal fees as well, just because we had absolutely no idea what we were doing, didn't want to get it wrong. So we're kind of using expensive lawyers to kind of help us, and it just wasn't something that was scalable. And then, as I said, was introduced to Nicholas at Access. And him and the team have just always been on hand for any kind of new countries that we're branching into. I've always been able to give, you know, a nice sort of overview of the requirements in that country, whether it's something we can engage with the workers directly on, whether they need to go through kind of more of the umbrella route. And then when it has been a case where Access have been involved in the supply chain, the feedback from our candidates has always been really positive. You know, there's always been someone on hand to answer their questions. The contracts have gone out really quickly. Payments have all been fine and on time. So I think the fact that when we partner with guys like you, we like to make sure that they're almost an extension of LaFosse. You know, our big thing is, and one of our main areas is that we show care to all of our candidates. We make sure that they're looked after right from when they submit their CV to us all the way to finishing their assignment and beyond, you know, kind of bring them back in to help them find the next role. So anyone that we have in our supply chain, we want them to have that same ethos. And I think that's something that Access have, from my opinion and from feedback we've had, have always shown as well. Yeah, for sure. And it because as I said, there was no one internally who had any, you know, real in-depth knowledge. A lot of it was going based on what we kind of found on Google. So the risk level was definitely heightened in our first few placements outside of the UK, because a lot of it was kind of done on guesswork. So it's nice knowing that having a partner like Access can kind of take all that away from our team, and kind of just manage that for us, and you just know that it's kind of being dealt with. But there's been some really good sort of educational pieces anyway, you know, whilst yes, we're kind of putting a lot down to Access and letting you guys kind of run with it. But the information that we are provided with from Nicholas and the team has always been really insightful anyway, and always just been something that, you know, we're kind of getting little nuggets of information, so that if a consultant does come and ask us, hey, can we place in this country? What are the requirements? We then kind of can offer advice internally first, and then bring in Access at a later date. So it's been a bit of a twofold in terms of managing it for us, which is taking it away, which is great, but also providing really good educational pieces so that we can upskill the team as well. I think the main area that we've definitely seen improvement on is kind of our turnaround time of being able to, from having the requirements sent to us by the consultant of, hey, I've got a contractor in, I don't know, France, for example, to getting contracts out the door, because we didn't have that knowledge internally. And as I said, we're having to wait for lawyers who do take forever to come back to you, or Googling it, or having to kind of, you know, rummage around trying to find information. What we were finding is that we were losing quite a few candidates because we weren't sure if we could support on it. And then in turn, obviously, then clients were kind of not losing trust in us, but we weren't seeing the level of jobs coming through that we usually would have. So I think the fact that now we've just got Access on hand to be able to drop a quick email or a quick call means we know if it's a new sort of geography that we've not worked in before, we know within usually the same day whether we can support or not. And then it just means that then that flows all the way back up to the client, meaning that we can give them a really good level of service. So the kind of time element has definitely been a really good measurement of, I guess, how successful our relationship is. And then also on the other side, as I just mentioned, kind of the knowledge piece as well of, you know, it's not just a simple, hey, can you support us in this country? Yes, we can, or no, we can't. There always seems to be a bit more, which is nice. It's yes, we can. These are the things that you'll need to be aware of, or it's actually very simple to work in this country. It works very much like the UK. So there's always kind of that little bit extra rather than just like, yes, give us your money. I don't think so, not from my side. As I said, every kind of interaction I've ever had has always been really positive. I think, you know, we've had in the past with one person, I think there was a couple of a bit of confusion around payment schedules, but I think that was tidied up quite quickly. So from what I've heard, it's all good, but definitely would recommend without hesitation. I think it's kind of 10 out of 10 score on that front. And I think again, I just really reiterate the support piece that we get from you, you know, that it feels like there's a proper relationship there. It doesn't feel like it's transactional. And as I said, you just kind of, after every pound you can get from us, it feels very much like the service that we give our clients. That's kind of the feeling that we get from you guys, that you genuinely do care. You want to help, you want to offer as much information as you can to help us make the right decision, but also our contractors as well, and kind of really wrap around that. So yeah, wouldn't hesitate to recommend.